Shalum and welcome. Welcome to Endtime Reflections. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah. This is the 34th installment of a series of words that I am compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. I have entitled this installment, Poop and Pee Handlers. Yes, you heard it right. Poop and Pee Handlers. My brothers and sisters, over the next several videos, occasionally I will present words that connect to serious instruction to prove that it is the function that takes priority over the text alone. You see, the text is merely form, descriptors, pointers, signs. It is the function, the action. Many of us have heard actions speak louder than words. There is much truth and wisdom to such. I will also present the case of why perception and belief will also be needed to endure until the end. But before I get started, my brothers and sisters, I want to say that the views expressed in these podcasts do not necessarily reflect the owners, management, and or shareholders of this media platform. With that said, let me continue. My brothers and sisters, end times are here. You may have heard me speak of being stirred by the Spirit of Yahuah sent in Yahusha's name. Last night, as I was praying and seeking to discern with the spirit of my teacher Yahusha, how Mashyach would have me post the result of what you are about to hear. After careful prayer, I am compelled to believe that you are about to hear a reflection of my encounter while in prayer. And that reflection will prove to be serious, even though the title may make you chuckle or raise an eyebrow. Poop and Pee Handlers. If you listen all or to most of this podcast, I want you to ask your leader, pastor, moray, teacher, bishop. I want you to ask any spiritual leader you have, or even just a brother or sister, would they consider being poop and pee handlers? Let them know that you're serious and listen very carefully to their answers. It may bring laughter and chuckles, or it may bring reaction of disgust. But let them know you're serious, very serious, of what they consider being poop and pee handlers. You see, as I say, end times are here. Conditions will bring extreme humbling times and events that will move the discipline of Abba Yahuah. It will move the family of the set-apart children of Yahuah as we find ourselves being gathered together. Let me bring some scripture into the mix. Romans 12:3 says, "For I say, through the favor which has been given to me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he should think, but to think soberly, as the Almighty One has given to each a measure of belief." And to each what the Almighty Father has given us, my brothers and sisters, some the task will differ from others. It is written in Romans 12th chapter, 1 Corinthians 12 and Ephesians 4 talks about the members, many members, one body in Mashyach. Consider visiting those chapters. Romans, the whole chapter 12 of Romans, the whole chapter 12 of 1 Corinthians, and the whole chapter 4 of Ephesians. In Hebrews 8:11 it says, "And they shall by no means teach one his neighbor and each one his brother, saying, Know Yahuah, because they shall know me from the least of them to the greatest." I want to read that last part, from the least to the greatest. Yashar'al, make no mistake, we have an inward man and an outward man. Our response to one another oftentimes is reflective of what we see, hear, the actions, the functions. Sometimes our response would be based on what we discern or what we measure as the scriptures come alive, what we use to measure a person's actions. Consider Matthew 23:26 and 27, my brothers and sisters, where Yahusha is quoted as saying, "Blind Pharisees, first clean the inside of the cup and dish so that the outside then becomes clean too. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you are like whitewashed tombs, which outwardly indeed look well, but inside are filled with dead men's bones and all uncleanliness." If you don't release, if you hold on to wickedness, That's like holding on to poop and pee. Waste that's in the body that needs to be removed and released. Is that not part of uncleanliness? Look at someone who is having digestive problems, and I'm not making light of that. And watch and see what their countenance is like. So it is also among the arrogant leaders and pastors and preachers and teachers who are walking in disobedience, who seek to gain their own and build their own agenda. My brothers and sisters, there are so many who desire the position of a moray, pastor, bishop, deacon, or prophet, and other leadership titles. They look at these as I look at these and witness them, and it's like many are vying for position that seems to be so beautiful, so magnificent. But unfortunately, my brothers and sisters, there are leaders that fail to look at the least among us, that fail to look at those who are scorned because they are obedient and they bring correction to the fellowship. You see, iron sharpening iron requires individuals listening to the voice of the Spirit of Yahuah, sending Yahusha's name, and executing judgment and bringing correction one towards another. And all too often I've seen leaders jealous, envious, or just because it wasn't given to them, they will bear false witness against the obedient. Let us learn how to vet and examine all things according to the scriptures as they are made alive before us. Let us learn how to identify the actions, the words, the functions that are directed from the Almighty Father, lest we find ourselves lured in the snare of arrogant and disobedient leadership. I've even witnessed when some have labeled themselves as some has been labeled as prosperity preachers, preachers who spend more time chasing wealth and encouraging their flock and others to do the same. Back to the encounter that I had, my brothers and sisters. As I was praying, I was compelled to believe that the Spirit of Yahushua said to me that we must prepare ourselves to recognize even the least among us. As I reflected on praying, I was directed to consider the process related to the production and evacuation of poop and pee. I was reminded how the family of Yashar'al has many members and is often referenced as a body. I was then taken to reflect on the holes where poop and pee leaves our body. It was as though the Spirit of Yahushua was saying these too often are taken for granted. Using the bathroom, taken for granted. Some are even frowned upon. In many cases, even ignored. People will even talk about it. That's smelly. But keep this in mind, my brothers and sisters. If we were constantly taking in things, literally, eating and drinking, and never released the waste, we would physically die. The same process goes for poop and pee, that there is something in our bodies and our digestive systems that bring about the end result and pushes out the poop and the pee. The same process is similar to what we must do when we take in words, when we are influenced by actions of others. We must process it as though we are digesting it, and we must extract, defecate, release, remove the wicked and evil and unclean thing, spiritual poop and pee. Now you might say, well, what do you mean? Hold that thought, my brothers and sisters. You see, believe it or not, every part of our body works hand in hand for us to live physically by the word of Abba Yahuwah. I'm compelled to believe that it is the function that finds words to describe it. What I am saying, it is function. It is the action, my brothers and sisters. Consider 2 Corinthians 3, 5, and 6. And hold on to that thought. We're going to continue talking about poop and pee handlers. Not all that were competent in ourselves to reckon any matter as for ourselves, but our competence is from the Almighty One, who also made us competent as servants of a renewed covenant, not of the letter, but of the Spirit, for the letter kills and the Spirit gives life. You see, my brothers and sisters, when we look at the life in the scriptures, we see endless instruction. When we look at the text from Genesis to Revelation, we can say, I read all of those books. I read all of that. And we think it stops there. But any true servant of the Almighty Father that is being disciplined, that is being refined, that is growing in maturity, knows that you can read one passage, read it again and get something else, read it again and get something else, and every time get something else that joins hand in hand, that reinforces the pursuit of worship and obedience to the Almighty Father. My brothers and sisters, as end times get intense, we'll be disciplined. And we will learn how to improve our communications by identifying functions, the actions that will unfold before us. As massive movement come, we will learn how to communicate and be on the same page. Sure, I could have titled this segment Body Waste or Biological Defecation or something similar, and it would have been frowned on, laughed, or talked about, not taken serious. Or I could have rose up and say, this message is about gatekeepers, the gatekeepers who must remove waste, wasteful things. The main point I want you to realize is without the ability to release human poop or pee, we die. Without the ability to come away and release wicked and evil things, we die. Believe it or not. Who is aware of the scripture that talks about delivering one to Satan for the destruction of the flesh, that the spirit may be saved? My brothers and sisters, every position in this body is not attractive when we look at it from an arrogant perspective. When we look at it from a more humbling perspective, we will discern that every part of the body, he that is least among us, contributes life to us in more ways than we can imagine, my brothers and sisters. Let us not take for granted the individuals who are charged with executing judgment among the body, so that iron does sharpen iron. Now let us examine true fellowship, those who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father, who seek to worship Abba Yahuwah, sent in Yahusha's name. It is my position that as the scriptures speak judgment, beginning at the house of the Almighty One, Yahuwah first, that this means someone will demonstrate in getting rid of the waste. In this case, the waste, human waste, would be spiritual poop and pee. The poop will reflect foods. Are we not aware that Yahusha said, I am the bread of life? Now imagine someone trying to imitate the bread of life for their own sake by imitating the bread of life, but there's wickedness behind that. That wouldn't be a pretty good loaf of bread, would it? It would be pretty much wasteful. People's actions and body movement. When we take that in, it's like taking in the bread of wickedness. It's not healthy, my brothers and sisters. And pee is a liquid. When it's extracted from our bodies, it is the waste that is removed. Are we not aware that the scriptures, the words from the Yahusha, are akin to water? Now imagine someone trying to pass for righteous words to us, but they're not righteous words. They're wicked words. Wicked liquid, so to speak. My brothers and sisters, this might sound foreign, out of place, hard to digest. But our eyes are like gates, our ears are like gates. Our spirits are challenged by the wicked ones. Let us learn and remember that there are wolves in sheep clothing. They will lead some brothers and sisters away. But believe it or not, deliverance comes for the mighty ones of the Almighty Father. Wasteful words will be released, rejected, and purged from among us. He or she who is used to vetting and examining all things, or growing and examining all things, will determine what to release from among us as well as what to embrace. These individuals can be called guards. They can be called gatekeepers, but they can also be called poop and pee handlers. Getting rid of the waste, pointing the waste away from us. Remember, my brothers and sisters, if poop and pee are wasteful things and must be removed, can we attach a meaning of anything that must be purged from us as wasteful, wicked, evil? You say, you just want to talk about poop and pee. Choose as you will, my brothers and sisters. End times are real. We must begin to look at what task the Almighty Father has assigned to us or is preparing us to execute. As deliverance comes, as movement comes, there's work to be done, my brother, my sister. I also avoided using profanity, which I know some will use because of the title of this segment. I believe it is unwise to use words that we do not want our children to be using. So let us demonstrate wisdom in our communications. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. I will also be speaking more on this topic in a video entitled The Body and Work. This video will be more extensive and provide more reinforcing, strengthening words to drive the need to identify function or action over text. Remember, the letter does kill and the spirit makes alive, as I read in 2 Corinthians 3, 5, and 6. My brother, my sister. Another title, as I said, I could have called this Gatekeepers. Sure, that sounds better than poop and pee handlers, but I wanted to drive home a point. How the text can say many ways to describe someone who monitors things that need to come and go. My intent is to strongly encourage each of us not to waste time on words that are not necessary. The scriptures emphasize the importance of name and specific words, but we are not ordered to chase any specific language. Sure, many are amazed with discovering who we are in this great awakening. Many think they are going to the Hebrew language. But I submit to you, mostly what is being pushed by many of these mores is an Aramaic dialect. It is not the original pure lip mentioned in Zephaniah 3:9. And Zephaniah 3:9 says, "For then I shall turn unto the people a clean lip, so that they all call on the name of Yahuah to serve him with one shoulder." That time will come, O Yashar'al, but it's not the Aramaic, it's not the Yiddish, and it's not anything that someone is trying to push to you as the original Hebrew language. For the original Hebrew language were actually pictures and symbols. And we will be surprised what that pure lip is, but in due season, we will grow to understand what it is and its purpose. For some reason, people forget about Revelation 7, 9, and 10. It says, "After this I looked and saw a great crowd which no one was able to count, out of all nations, tribes, and peoples, and tongues, standing before the throne, before the Lamb, dressed in white robes and palm branches in their hands, and crying out with a loud voice, saying, Deliverance belongs to our Almighty One who sits on the throne and to the Lamb." Notice it says peoples and tongues. Different tongues, my brothers and sisters. I won't get into more details talking about the tongues of the language right now. The purpose was to stress that we should not ignore those who we think may be the least among us. The purpose is to understand that though the words may not sound attractive, let us look at the function. Let us look at its purpose. For to ignore every or any part of the body could put us at risk of physical and spiritual. Physical death, spiritual sleep to the brother and sister. Study, O Yashar'al. Pray. Study some more. Watch. Seek to discern the difference between what is good and what is waste. Now, I instruct you again to ask your leader, pastor, moray, teacher, bishop, deacon, or any other spiritual leader, would they consider being poop and pee handlers? And of course, I'm talking about removers of waste and wickedness. See how they respond. And ask yourself, do you think that is the person that will cover you during these extreme times? Is that the person that will provide you with the instructions you need during these extreme, humbling times? If they do not want to be the one to handle the waste that needs to be removed or identify the waste, if they do not want to be able to encourage the ones who are directed to process the final waste and purge it from our midst, is this the type of leadership you want to be around? Do you want to just have entertainment and go in circles and just keep reading the scriptures and never know what it takes to press forward? There must be a release, my brothers and sisters. Wasteful things must be released from us. There must be the strength and fortitude to press on. There must be the need to know out of all that we've taken in, we must process these things. We must vet and examine these things such that the body can function in a set-apart way that it is designed by the Almighty Father. My brothers and sisters, enough said about poop and pee handlers. What say you? You in the mirror. Have you released something that is a stronghold? Or are you constipated and holding on to things that need to be removed? Don't be stopped up, my brothers and sisters. Find the exhilaration that comes with spiritual release and physical release. Learn how to manage the earthen vessel and the spiritual man within inside. Until next time, my brother, my sister, my family. Be mindful. Poop and pee handlers help save lives. In the name of Yahusha, I come to you. My name is Symmanayah, and I say to you, Shalum.